We are continuing on Masechet Berachot and the learning of Chodesh Kislev has been sponsored by Shahab and Shenaz Rabbi for health, happiness, prosperity, and Hatzlacha b'Torah of all of their family and Nachat from their children. Has also been sponsored by Aaron and Miriam Zaguri, the Ilui Nishmat Idit Bat Miriam, that her neshama should have an aliyah. Amen. Now we spoke. We're holding on. Daf Mem Aleph Amud Bet. We started the two dots in the middle of the page, and we're going to start again from right over there. Itmar haviu lifneim te'enim va'anavim betoch ha'seudah. We learned that if they bring for you te'enim va'anavim betoch ha'seudah, if you have figs, if you have grapes that they bring in the middle of the seudah, you already have washed on bread, you have said hamotzi. Amar Rav Huna te'unim bracha lifnehem ve'en te'unim bracha la'acharehem. You say bracha beforehand, but you don't say bracha afterwards. Why do you say bracha beforehand? Because it's not liftan, it's not part of something that you eat the seudah with it. They're bringing it because they want you to sweeten your mouth a little bit and so on. But at the end of the day, it's called mazon. It's called food. And therefore, birkat hamazon, the bracha that you say on general food, birkat hamazon is overarching, is all-encompassing, and therefore it includes this as well. Mm-hmm. So you say bracha in the beginning, but you don't say bracha at the end. V'chen amar Rab Nachman, and so said Rab Nachman, te'unim bracha lifnehem, and te'unim bracha la'acharehem. You say bracha in the beginning, not at the end. V'Rav Sheshet amar, te'unim bracha ben lifnehem, ben la'acharehem. Rav Sheshet says, no, they need bracha in the beginning and at the end. Because, says Rav Sheshet, there is no such a reality of something not being part of the food, but then not needing bracha at the end. If you're telling me that you're saying bracha in the beginning, that by nature, by its very definition, means it's not part of my food. And if it's not part of my food, then I'm not going to be saying just bracha rishona, but I'm going to be saying bracha achrona as well. It's not included in hamotzi, it's not included in birkat hamazon. Says the Gemara, she'en lecha davar, because you do not find anything she'ta'un bracha lefanav and ta'un bracha achrona, that it needs bracha in the beginning within the seudah, and it doesn't need bracha afterwards. Ela pat haba'a bekisnin, but pat haba'a bekisnin. Okay, so the next amud for sure, we're going to be speaking about pat haba'a bekisnin. This is a very big concept, and therefore it's kedai to spend some time on it. This deserves its own siman in Shulchan Aruch. Maran in siman kuf samechet of Orach Chaim speaks about pat haba'a bekisnin. We, generally speaking, relate to pat haba'a bekisnin as mezonot stuff, right? So, very good. We're going to read Rashi inside right now, but I'll give a spoiler of the general sugya, and then little by little we'll make, after this spoiler, you have to delete it from your mind, and then we'll kind of like pave our way through the sugya, by bits and pieces at a time. So, pat haba'a bekisnin, there's a three-way machloket rishonim. What does kisnin mean? A bread that comes with kisnin. What does that mean exactly? So there are some Rishonim who say kisnin comes from the language kis. Kis means a pocket. That means it's a bread, and bread, when I talk about pat haba'a bekisnin, when I use bread, means a flour-made goods. That means you made it out of grain, out of dough, a bread that has been filled in like a pocket. You made pockets inside of it, and you filled in the pockets of that with, now, I don't want to get into too many machloket achronims, but imagine with cheese and meat or sweets. That's even better, right? You put caramel and sugar and all kinds of goodies inside. And that is how you baked it. It's not bread. It's not even eaten as bread. It's something, geschmack that you would eat. So you took dough, you filled in the dough with a lot of things, sweets, right? Cream and whatnot, custard and chocolate. And that's how you baked it. Some say like that. So therefore, pata baba kisnin comes from language kis. Okay. Others say, no, pata baba kisnin means, kisnin is kosesinoto. That means it's cracker made. And therefore, you have to chew on it like a cracker. It's dry. That's what pata baba kisnin is. Usually bread is soft, nice. You could sandwich things with it and so on. And then you have cracker. Cracker, which people eat as, snack. And yet there's a third understanding and interpretation of Rishonim, which means pata baba kisnin, you take the dough and you knead the dough with so much sugar and fruit juice and other stuff that the thing is, as snacks, you eat a little bit of it. It's not something that you could eat with suda because it's very sweet, right? Maran Shulchan Aruch brings all three of these opinions, and it says because we have safek on all of them, we say, and because of that, on all of them, we don't say bracha rishona in the middle of Suda. Despite the fact that pata baba kisnin, really, as we're going to develop in the Gemara, you would say bracha rishona on it in Suda, but nevertheless, that's the psak of Shulchan Aruch. Now, delete all of this for meanwhile until we develop this a little bit more in the sugya. We're going to read Rashi inside because it's important, and then we'll see the development of this in the course of the sugya. So, pata ba'abe kisnin, take a look at Rashi. La'achar achila, after you eat and you say birkat hamazon, that's how Rashi learns. Hayu regilim la'avi kisnin, they would bring kisnin to eat. Now, what's kisnin? Ve'en klayot. Kisnin is roasted grain that would be, they felt that it was good for heart. Lefish yafin lalev, it's good for your heart. Kedamrinan be'alma, as we mentioned in the Gemara in Masechet Eruvin Daf Kaftet Amud Bet. Hani kisani de ma'alu leliba, these kisnin that are good for heart. Umevinim ahen patsheni loshaim tavlin, and with them, they would bring a pot, a dough that was kneaded with a lot of tasty stuff. They would put a lot of sugar, a lot of additives inside. Veyesho silotan kemin tziporim veilanot. They would, shape it in different shapes. And and you eat a little bit of it, because it's very sweet, it's very tasty. There's so much additives and so much of other things, of klayot or inside fillings it has inside. It's full of agozim, nuts, and shekedim, almonds, and sweeteners. And therefore, machala muat. You eat just a little bit of it. Therefore, lo hitinu bracha men gimel. They didn't say you have to say bracha achrona on it. The Vilna Gaon learns that it's so much nuts and almonds and other things inside of it that it doesn't have enough flour inside that it will be kazait bichta achilat pras. Therefore, you don't say men shalosh afterwards. Okay. That's how Rashi learns this pata ba'abe kisnin. So says the Gemara, upligat Rabbi Chia. This argues with what Rabbi Chia taught. The Amar Rabbi Chia said, pat poteret kol mine machal. When you say bracha motzi, that covers kol mine machal. Every type of food is covered by pat, by the bracha v'amotzi. The yayin poter kol mine mashkim. Wine covers all types of drinks. Wine is the king of drinks. When you say geffen, you don't say bracha on any other drinks afterwards. And bread, when you say hamotzi lechem min haaretz, any food that you eat afterwards is covered as well. Amar Rapapa said, what's halacha? At the end of the day, so you have machloket here. What is the halacha? Hilcheta, halacha is, depends why it's coming in the middle of the Suda. In other words, yes, correct. Maybe when you say Hamotzi, it covers everything that's part of your Suda, but only everything that's part of your Suda. If you start having chocolate in the middle of the Suda, it has nothing to do with Suda. So it depends why it's coming, says Rav Papa. So now let's go through the steps of Rav Papa. If you have things that are needed for Suda and they're brought within Suda, that means, Rashi explains, the things that you eat with the pat, right? You have cheese, right? And you're making a sandwich, you have cold cuts, not together. You have it with a sandwich. So that's the varim habaim machmata suda, betocha. So you're eating them with bread actually. That is for sure, says Rav Papa. You don't need bracha in the beginning. You don't need bracha at the end. The shalom machmata suda. But if they come, shalom machmata suda, they're not coming to be eaten with bread together. But they are betocha suda, but it's part of your food. For instance, you have, says Rashi, daisa, you have hot cereal, other things that are filling you up, cabbage, that was a big food back then, as we learned before, it's misatzayit, it sustains the person. So it's part of your, it's a main dish in your food, but it's not something that you eat with bread. But it's part of my food. It's not a snack. It's main part of my Suda. Teunim bracha lifnehem, says Rav Papa, you need to say bracha in the beginning, but you don't say bracha at the end because it's part of mazon. It's needed bracha in the beginning because hamotzi covers things you eat with bread. This one you don't eat with bread, says Rav Papa. But because of mazon, well, this is part of my mazon. This is part of the Suda that I ate, so therefore it doesn't need bracha at the end. Says the Gemara, says Rav Papa, the achara Suda, things that come after Suda, then teunim bracha ben ifnehem ben lacham, things that normally come after Suda, things that come to wash off your Suda, some fruits, right? Some nice dessert that comes usually after the Suda. You'll have some strawberries, some without bugs, and all that. Even if you bring it in the middle of the Suda, you have to say bracha on it, says Rav Papa. Ben lacharehem, ben lifnehem, both in the beginning and at the end. That's Rav Papa. Shalu et ben Zuma. They asked Ben Zuma. Who's Ben Zuma, by the way? This is Rabbi Shimon ben Zuma. And the reason that we call him Ben Zuma, and this was the name of his father, and we don't give him smicha, is because he died very young, and he never got smicha. But the Gemara says there was nobody, him and Ben Azai. Right? You have Ben Azai and you have Ben Zuma. Ben Azai and Ben Zuma were the greatest chachamim of their time, but they were very young. Both of them died young. The Gemara in Chagiga says that they were two of the four people who went up to Pardes. They experienced a supernatural experience of going up to holy levels together with Rabbi Akiva and Elisha ben Avuya. And 3 out of 4 did not make it intact back after the experience. One of them died. One of them became crazy. One of them went off the path. And only Rabbi Akiva survived properly. He went in and he came out with tremendous amount of knowledge, more than when he entered, and he was intact, right? So Elisha ben Avuya, of course, became Elisha Acher. He went off the path. And Ben Zuma and Ben Azai, one died, one got crazy. But Rabbi Shimon ben Zuma was very young and a tremendous budding Talmid Hacham. So therefore, they didn't give him smicha yet. They would call him in the name of his father, Ben Zuma, instead of saying Rabbi Shimon. And And yet, again, he's one of the greatest chachamim of his time. So they asked Ben Zuma, why is it that we learn the things that come in the middle of Seudah, in the midst of your Seudah, that you've washed on bread, those things that come machmata Seudah betocha Seudah, that you're eating it with bread in the middle of the Seudah, that you don't say bracha, not in the beginning and not at the end. Why did they say that? Amar lahem, he said, because pat potartan, last line, because the bracha and the bread, when you say amotzi lahamin haaretz, it's poter, it covers anything that's eaten with bread. In a simplistic way of understanding is what we said before, ikar v'tafel, whenever you have something that's main and something that is a tag along, you only say bracha on the ikar, and you cover the tafel. So here is no different. Here you're saying a bracha on the pot. Anything that's eaten with the pot, with the bread, is covered with it as well. So says the Gemara, why wine used to be, you have to understand, right now wine is either because of dopamine, for people who are addicted to it, to alcohol, or is a recreational thing that people do. Back in the time, wine was actually the drink that they had. The drink that they had was not water. Back then was wine. They diluted with water, 3-1. But wine was something that they drank. Normally in the Seudah, you would drink wine. So says the Gemara, why is wine not covered with that? You say bracha, you're drinking, eating, drinking together. So why is wine not covered with the bracha of hamotzi? So the Gemara says, well, because water is, right? Water is covered because, okay, but wine is not. So why is wine not? Says the Gemara, shani yayin, wine is different. The gorem bracha la'atzmo, because it has been given a status of chashivut that always needs bracha for itself, right? Even when you are not ought to drink, you start your Seudah on Friday night, what do you say? No one starts a Seudah with a cup of wine, but it needs bracha b'fnei atzmo. You can say kiddush. You start Shabbat with kiddush, Shabbat morning with kiddush. You want to get engaged? Brikat erusin, and cup of wine, kiddush. You want to get married? Brikat nisuin, another cup of. That's, by the way, it's based on the Gemara in Ketuvot Daf Zayin. Those who are following Daf Yomi, there are two different things that happens under chuppah nowadays, right? It used to be a year apart from each other, those two things. You would first do kiddushin, right? Which from the Torah you're married already, but they would not live together. She would go back to her father's house and get ready for now living together. After a year, they would get married. I mean, they would have nisuin, right? They would not live together for a whole year. Kiddushin and nisuin, right? Now kiddushin is where you give the tabat, you give the ring, right? Harad mekudeshli. Minat Torah, now she is eshet ish. You're married, right? But they're asur to live together until you have nisuin, which is sheva brachot. We do both of them within 5 minutes, so no one really realizes what happens. Next time, when you go to a wedding, pay attention to what's happening. And you realize that there are 2 times that they say Borei Priya Gefen under the chuppah. And they read the Ketuvah in the middle. The reason that happens is you read the Ketuvah in the middle in order to create the hefsek, because you just said Borei Priya Gefen. What are you saying another Borei Priya Gefen? So the rabbi makes a drasha for 5 minutes or 50 minutes, depending on how old he is, right? And then they read the Ketuvah in order to create the hefsek, and then you have another Borei Priya Gefen, right? But you say one Borei Priya Gefen on Birkat Yerusin, and another one on Birkat Nisuin. Everything has, you want to have Brit Milah, Borei Priya Gefen. Again, everything is on a cup of wine. So there's a certain chashivut for wine that's gorem bracha b'fnei atzma, and therefore in the Seudah, wine, it's belittling the wine to be covered with hamotzi. It needs its own bracha. It's chashuv enough that nothing could cover it. It has to be said by itself. The gorem bracha le'atzmo. Rav Huna, achal teresa rifti bene telata bekava. Rav Huna ate 13 loaves of bread that each one of them, you want to know what the size was? Each one of them was 1/3 of a kav. I have the other side of the board. Yeah, the board. Okay, I want to teach you something that you're going to use until the end of your life in Shas. It's not necessarily, I could just tell you how much this is, but it's kedai for you to know this. So we're going to write it. Velo birech, and he did not bench, right? He didn't bench. He ate 13 loaves of bread and he didn't bench. So now Rashi says this was not regular pat, it was patababe kisnin. Right? It was patababe kisnin. He ate 13 loaves of it and didn't bench. Now, to just give you an idea of how much this is that he ate, you'll remember different shiurim, right? So one of them you know, the rest of it you'll figure out always. And you'll just know this phrase, ke'askelav yagodu, right? I'll write it here. Okay. And this is how it works, this chart. Okay? This is how it works. Now, what is this? This is kur efa se'a kav log bitza. Right? So if you want to do it, it would be kur efa se'a kav log, and our own very bitza, which everyone knows is an egg, right? So, and this is numeric values, right? This is 10, this is 3, this is 6, this is 4, and this is 6, right? So every betza, every 6 betza is a log. So it could work like this. Every kur is 10 ephahs, which is 3 seahs. Every ephah is 3 seah. Every seah is 6 kavs. Every kav is 4 logs, and every log is 6 betzas. Right? So what did he eat? Each one of them was 1/3 of a kav. Right? So this is what they did. Right? We could send this afterwards if you are. There's a more sophisticated one, but this is what it is. Now, if you add up this, okay, Talmidei Rabbeinu Yonah have a girsah that's 12, not 13. Doesn't make that much of a difference. But 13 of them would be 104 betzas, which would be over 6 kilograms of bread or flour of the bread. It's over the 12 pounds of thing. So, right? You with me? Yeah. Okay, so therefore, I said this to mention that the Rashi says in Masechet Shabbat, Daf Kuf Yutet, the Tosafot say the same thing in Masechet Baba Batra, Daf Kuf Lamed Gimal, that whenever the Gemara says 13 is a language of guzma, of exaggeration. So many times the Gemara says 13, and it's exaggerating. You have the same thing Maharsha says. Sometimes the Gemara says 300 camel loads of this. 300 is another phraseology the Gemara uses for exaggerating, right? So he ate a lot of bread, like loaves and loaves of bread. He ate and he didn't say bracha. That's something that both this and the 13 being in the number of exaggerations, things that you go through Shas, you will definitely need both of these pieces of information. It's a little innocent story here in the Gemara, but nevertheless, those two pieces of information are important to keep in mind. So, be that as it may, Rav Huna ate a whole lot of patababe kistin, and he didn't bench. Now, I made it easy by saying he didn't bench. Really, it's a three-way machloket rishonim. What happened over here? There are those who say, because the Gemara says he didn't say bracha, which seems to suggest he didn't say any bracha achrona. Right? There are those who say no, he said b'rei nefashot. There are those who say no, he said ala michya. But he certainly didn't bench. He ate all of these loaves of bread and he didn't bench. So says the Gemara, wait a second. Amar le Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman tells Rav Huna, Kvod Arav, Ade Kafna, this is like a hunger-ridden person. You came out of hunger, you ate so much, right? Anything that other people, any amount, says you may not be full with all of this, that you ate it as a snack. All of these loaves of pata ba'abe kisnin you ate as a snack, and it was not considered your seudah, quote unquote. But this is for other people that will go to hospital afterwards, right? There's certainly something that people would have kviut seudah on it. They would set themselves up to eat a meal, and that would be their entire meal. Anything that other people eat as seudah, even if you meant it as snack, would be considered kviut seudah, and you have to say Birkat Hamazon on it, says Rav Nachman. So let's read it together. Ela kol shacherim, third line, shacherim kov'in alav seudah. Anything that other people are kovea seudah on it, sarich levarech. You must say Birkat Hamazon on it.
Are we speaking of anything like made of grains?
That's correct. You have cookies and cake. If you eat 216 grams worth of cookies, or at least the flour that was used in it, 216 grams is considered the shiur of kivut seudah. Today, if you're eating that, you would go wash netilat yadayim and come say hamutzi on the cookies and say Birkat Hamazon at the end. That's exactly what would happen. Because you're koveh seudah on pata ba'abe kisnin.
Somebody has 12 of them.
Sufganiyot is, if someone has 12 of them, I highly suggest they should go to this doctor over here afterwards. Top gastroenterology.
That's what less than what Ramona had.
Hashem Yirachem.
Make sure you take a shot of insulin.
And that's what you get out of the Gemara. I follow one Rav Huna in Shas. Amazing. So Sufganiyot is different, because this that we speak about here is about baked items, right? Because they're considered pat. Pat is something that's baked. If you cook something, then that's not going to be hamotzi ever. Even if you pile up a whole ton of them and you eat all of them, you'll say no hamotzi and no Birkat Hamazon. So sufganiyot, unlike what people think, they are not baked at all. They are cooked. Now, you think cooking is with water. Anything that is in liquid, which is your food is submerged in it, is cooking. So deep frying is cooking. No, we call it deep frying, but halachically speaking, that's bishul. Right? And the sufganiyot are deep fried. So therefore, that's not called pat altogether.
You can never cover this.
You could be kovea seudah on it. You could drown yourself in sufganiyot and the oil, but the maaseh, you're not going to say hamotzi. Right. It's got to be like you have spaghetti. Right? What do you say on a spaghetti if you have 2 bowls of it, which is a whole lot, right? 3 bowls, and ala michya. You never would say hamotzi on it, even if you have the whole pot. So that's the same thing with cooked items. So in the spirit of Chanukah, you will never say a Seudat Shabbat and Sufganiyot, as much as you would like to do that. And yeah, the nest, part of the nest of the Chanukah is that people don't die from Sufganiyot that they eat. Says the Gemara, Kosha Halim Kov'in Alav Seudah Sarich Levarech. Rav Yehuda was making a wedding. Rav Yehuda va'asik leh lebreh. He was making a wedding for his son. Be Rav Yehuda or Rabbi Yehuda Bar Chaviva. So I heard the Mechutanim, Rav Yehuda Bar Chaviva. I too the Kamaihu Pata Babekisnin. They brought in front of the guests Pata Babekisnin. This whatever we call Pata Babekisnin, that's what they brought in front of the people. And then Rav Yehuda hears people saying Motzi, Motzi, si, right? He's hearing the end of the bracha, and Sham'inhu, the Kamivarchi Amotzi, he hears that they're saying Amotzi and Pata Babakistin. Amar Lehu, he goes over to them, confronts them, says, My tzitzi de Kashemana. What is this Amotzi tzitzi that I'm hearing from far? Right? I'm hearing the end of the. You see, when your kids are saying the bracha, you only hear Baruch and Tzi at the end, Hamotzi. So he said, well, I'm hearing the Hamotzi over here. Dilma Hamotzi lehamin haaretz tmarchitu. Maybe Hasbe Shalom, you're saying Hamotzi and Pata Ba'abekisnin. What is this? They say, Amri Le, they said to him, yeah, of course we're saying Hamotzi on it. The Tanya, the Braita says, Rabbi Muna Amar, Mishum, Rabbi Yehuda, Pata Ba'abekisnin, we learned in Braita that Pata Babekisnin the bracha is Hamotzi, so we're following the Braita, right? V'amar Shmuel, and we learned that Shmuel said halacha is halacha Rabbi Muna. Halacha is like Rabbi Muna. Amar Lehu, that's the wrong thing to say to Rav Yehuda. We mentioned before, Rav Yehuda is the Talmid of Rav and the Talmid of Shmuel. Is the main Talmud, it's the one that Shmuel was most beloved Talmud of Shmuel. Shmuel used to call him Shinana, the sharp one. You remember that? Yeah. He spoke about it, right? Rav Yehuda is the king of all the Talmidim of Rav and Shmuel. So he's like, you telling me what Shmuel says? No, he didn't. He never said that. Amar lehu, ein halacha Rabbi Muna itmar. He didn't say halacha is like Rabbi Muna. Shmuel said halacha is not like Rabbi Muna. You have it exactly the opposite, backwards. Amri le, v'hamaruhu da amar mishmed Shmuel. Didn't you say in the name of Shmuel that lachmaniot me'arvin bahen u'mevarchin alein hamotzi? That these things called lachmaniot, you could make eruv with them. You could use them as the pot, as the bread of eruv that needs pot. And when you want to say bracha on it, you will say hamotzi lechem min haaretz, right? You say hamotzi on them. Says the Gemara, no, it's not the same thing. The Gemara says, Shani Hatam, he tells them, the kava seudate alayhu. If you are kovea seudan de lachmaniot, then yes, you say hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Aval hecha de lo kava seudate alayhu lo. But when you don't say, when you don't set yourself up on eating them, when you're just having them as a snack, you don't say hamotzi on them. You say borei minei mezonot. And Rav Papa, the Gemara says in another story, Rav Papa ikla leber Rav Huna beret Rav Natan. Rav Huna, Rav Papa was a guest at Rav Huna beret Rav Natan. But the Gamri Seudatai, who after they finished their Seudah, Aitu lekamayhu midi lemechal. They brought in front of them things to eat. Shakal Rav Papa v'ga'achil. And Rav Papa took and started eating it. Right? So this is after Seudah. Amri le, lo savar le mar, says you don't hold that gamar asur midechol, that if you finish your Seudah, it's asur for you to eat afterwards. And he answered, Amarehu salik itmar. It's when you stop your Seudah. If you stop the Seudah, you take the lechem and all of the food from the shulchan, and you haven't eaten afterwards, you haven't said Birkat Hamazon yet. If you stopped eating, then you can't eat. But I didn't stop eating yet. And now they're going to challenge him, and he's going to answer a halakha that's very important for every guest to know. In other words, the Gemara of tomorrow is going to introduce to us a concept in halakha which differentiates between when you're eating your own suda, when you say bracha, when you don't, versus when you are a guest at someone else's home that you don't know if they're done or they're going to bring more food. Do you say new bracha? Do you not say new bracha? Is something that Bezat Hashem will continue in the days to come.